Yeah, this is animating with the GreenSock Animation Platform, and my one kind of apology to you is really I wish we had more time. But the basic kind of lay of the land with regard to this presentation is we're going to talk, we're going to talk initially about just the basic concepts of animation, specifically tweening. Then I'm going to introduce the library to you. Okay? After that, we're going to just dig into some very basic examples. Hopefully those examples will take us from 0 to interesting in 10 minutes, okay? Then we're going to look at something I did with the Tour of Heroes tutorial for Angular 2. If you haven't gone through it, I would highly recommend it. All of it. Don't just stop where you think you should stop. It's because of RxJS, quite frankly. So whoever's doing that talk, I'm really looking for. Excellent. Really looking for you. But yeah, so let's get started. So we can't really talk about animation in general without talking about something called tweening. And so what tweening is we basically have something. Let's talk about web animation first. Okay, so essentially what we have is an element or elements of a DOM. Okay, and think of that element having a specific state. Okay, and that state is going to transition to another state. Okay, so elements are elements. You might want to get the door for that, John. Ah, excellent. Sorry, it's locked for me. States, transitions, and then over a period of time. Okay, so what is tweening? But simply taking elements of the DOM, in our case, okay, over time, and creating the keyframes required to go from one state to the next. That's the process of tweening, okay? Creating those frames in between tween, okay? So that's what tweening is. It's essential to understand that because tweening is literally in the name of two of the libraries that you see here. I'll give you a little bit of time to read that. But essentially, the big difference between these two sets of libraries here, tween-lite and tween-max, and time-lite, the timeline classes and corresponding libraries. The difference is that in tweening, you can create some pretty rich animations, okay? But when you want to join together or sequence in a timeline over time, multiple different tweens, you're really going to want to use timeline. And with tweening, of course, we'll see that you can provide you can do delay. So you can tell one of your tweens to start just a little bit after or before the next one, and we'll actually see that. So you can do some rudimentary sequencing, but when you want to have lots of graceful entrances and exits, and you want to have things moving in perfect unison, you really want to use timeline. So that being said, let's go ahead and look at some quick examples. And I'll escape and do this. So, okay, quick, just basic tweening. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so what's going on here? Let's talk syntax for a minute. So tween-lite, you're using a static to method off of tween-lite. What are we doing with that? This is directly off of GSAP site, GreenSock site, okay? We have a logo. It's all of these constructs, these methods, they can take a jQuery object or they can just take a vanilla JS HTML element, okay? But we're moving this, we're using the to method, okay? We're gonna look at what from does as well, okay? The from method. But this is the to method, just as you would think, we're taking it in 1 second, from where it is to 632 pixels to the right. So between that, done, right? So, oh, there's default easing. So you see some default easing. I think we're easing out, okay? So there's that. So just syntactically, very simple, just kind of getting our feet wet here. Now let's look at from. And from tweens, okay. So from, you want to use a from tween when you have everything where you want it, right? You want to use two tweens when you say, okay, I have things in their starting points, right? But they're going to go places, okay? You want to use from tweens when you have everything in its place, and you want it to go to that place, okay? So that's what they're doing here. And you guys, sorry, I want to show you something a little bit better than that, I think. Oh, this is good. This is good. We're going to look at another one where we use timeline and they sequence some from tweens, and we'll look at that. Okay, but you know, in this case, what we're doing is over 2 seconds, we're taking the logo, and it's going to move from an opacity of 0 to its current opacity, which is 1, right? And then left from 300 pixels, you know, into its current state. So that's kind of the difference between from and to, and we kind of we have to get a handle on those methods in order to kind of read GSAP, to understand the syntax, okay? And pardon me, we're still working with tweening at this point, okay? We're not sequencing any timelines or anything like that, or sequencing any tweens within a timeline, I should say, or anything like that. So this, however, gets fairly interesting pretty quick, okay? And you're literally looking at, now, we had to instantiate an object this time, okay? There aren't, you know, any static methods off of the class that we're using. We're instantiating the timeline class, okay? But this is really cool because in 3 lines of code, we created a halfway decent banner, you know? And for this one, what I'd like to look at is just the structure of what we're dealing with. So let's watch it again, get a quick baseline. Okay, so there are really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 elements in this animation, and the elements are this. Okay, we have our GSAP hero. Okay, we have timeline light, which is an image of text. Okay, and then who's the boss of your tweens? Those are spans in an image tag. Okay, now the structure you can see here. But I'll just, you know, I'll kind of spare you the details of that. But there's tagline. If you look at tagline, and I'll just scroll over, spans, images within the spans, right? Okay, there's boss, there's okay? So we got a handle on that. And what's happening here? So interestingly enough, one thing you should know about the from method as you use it in this is a help. The from method on the timeline class, hanging off of the timeline class, is it just you're basically calling tween light or tween maxes from. It's helper for you, okay? But you're able to sequence those now in a timeline. And as far as the first from knows, it's the only thing in the timeline, okay? As far as the second from is aware, it's the last thing in the timeline. And as far as stagger from is concerned, it's the last thing in the timeline. But the timeline knows. The timeline knows. And the timeline allows where they are, quite frankly. And the timeline allows you to sequence them. So, you know, what's really happening here is we're taking the logo first, okay, from where it is. It's going to start a little bit off, negative 60 pixels, a little bit off to the left, right? And it's going to just ease in, okay? Then, right before that's finished, you know, 0.2 of a second, right, before it's finished, the timeline light is going to not only become visible. Alpha is a nice helper syntax that the timeline and the tween classes provide you to deal with visibility for you. It just deals with alpha is visibility. Think visibility. Think display none, display block, you know, whatever. Think visibility itself as a CSS attribute. It handles all that for you, okay? So that's their term for that. But anyway, yeah, 0.2 of a second, what we're going to do is it's going to kind of just spread itself out and become visible there. The interesting part about this, however, is in stagger from. So here, each of those spans, okay, what's happening with those is they're coming from the top, they're being rotated 40 degrees, but we're staggering them to where we want them to be. And there's some opacity going on, and that's great, but in the scale and easing, though, is really works together to squish them and then make them go to, well, where they came from, right? So that's what's really happening there. And, you know, again, in 3 lines, pretty cool. So, again, I wish we had more time. At this point, I would take questions or not, but or whatnot, but I got to move on. So, what do we do with GSAP in the Tour of Heroes tutorial within Angular? First, I wrote this in TypeScript. So, you know, the tutorial I used, the TypeScript tutorial. You want to go get the types, right? So they tell you, let's see. I don't know if I have that. Yeah, in the Angular CLI, the command line utility, to spin up a new Angular project, there's great documentation there, and they tell you exactly what you need to do to install types. So that's all right here. So you want to get your GSAP types, okay? But what we're going to be looking at, though, is here are our heroes, okay? This is our heroes list. This is our heroes component, okay? My chips look a little different. I gave them some love. They don't look like the ones in the Tour of Heroes because I thought they looked lame. You know, and so what I thought would be fun and cool would be to provide in-context validation, okay? Just like I think when you're deleting a contact in your iPhone, it does something similar. I don't have an iPhone, but I think I've seen that. Or maybe it's on my iPad or something, in settings, I think I was getting rid of something. So this is really, you know, what we're doing. If you want to delete it, you can, right? Or if you choose not to, you just click on the pill or the chip and, you know, it goes back to where, and so I'm using GSAP, you know, to do this. One of the things I want to point out too is, since it's TypeScript, I wanted to look at the typings file, and I hope to have that up here, but I'm not sure if I do. Just bear with me. Yeah, it's right here. So you'll see me use, I think, timeline, because timeline, these are ambient types. This is a type definition file. So timeline is really either simple timeline, timeline night, or timeline max. And at this point, I'm going to ask Tony, how am I doing on time?
You're unlimited in the kitchen.
I'm unlimited. 5 more minutes. Thanks. Okay. Okay. All right, cool. So how did I do this? So basically, here's our markup, okay? We have a very simple, here's our X. This is literally the X that, you know, I tapped on to delete, okay? And we're going to wire up an event on delete initial, okay? So a very standard syntax for that type of thing. Now, on delete initial, what does that do? This should begin to look somewhat familiar to you, okay? So I'm instantiating a timeline, and I'm using 2. I'm using 3 of them, okay? And they're pretty much happening in unison, because I'm not staggering them. I'm just setting them up, and I'm playing them, okay? So, but again, it's not that tough. So what's happening here? Let's see. I wonder if we should dig into the DOM, or I'll just explain this. Let me just try to explain it. So the X, okay, that's an element, and it's contained within a larger element. The larger element is what you see slide, okay, in and out. The larger element is actually not, let's say, in its rightmost, or it's not in its should we say, default right position. Its default right position is 0. And I tell it to basically go there. And I do that here. Okay, that's right there. For the X, I want the X to disappear, and it's going to turn into delete. So I want, and the delete was too big, like for the X, so I wanted it to be not as big as the X, right? So step number 1, okay, get rid of the X, right, and then prep for displaying the delete here for validation or whatever you want to call it. So, you know, next then the parent of the X, right, the containing div, that's what's going to slide in, okay, and if their background color is this pinkish material design thing that I picked, and then, you know, some easing, all right, good enough, okay. Then let's display the delete text, right? X is X is basically translate X, right? So I don't want to get too much into transforms at all, or keyframe-based animations or anything like that. But you know, this is just basically think of it as horizontal linear movement, okay, along the x-axis, okay, and that's it. Now, one of the things I don't recommend you do is I collected these timeline instances. Everyone probably knows why we don't want to do that, right? What if we had a list of chips that was 1,000 long, right? I don't, you know, with paging, filtering, sorting, and everything, you probably wouldn't do that anyway, right? But I figured I could get away with it in a little example. But I collected them so that I could reverse them, quite frankly. And you know, so this is really cool, by the way. If you get a chance to look at the CSS3 and watch this thing go, it's pretty awesome. So let me go back to the tour of heroes. Yeah, so I collected these things again, so I can just, when they choose not to delete, by clicking off of that area, then I can just revert. I can find what they clicked on, I created a dictionary, I think, find the associated, you know, pill or chip, and reverse that. So 2 more minutes, 1 more minute.
Oh, you have to make it.
Done. All right, I want to just show you guys quickly, very quickly, who's who. Because if you want to learn GSAP, you got to know these people. Sorry, 2 slides. I worked so hard on you. Jack Doyle is the author of GSAP. Sarah Drasner, the world's lucky to have her, quite frankly. She's an incredible. Her stuff in the public domain is just. Learn from her. She's great. Blake Bowen is a GSAP forum moderator. He will not only solve your problems on the forum, but lead you to all sorts of other interesting stuff about GSAP. So that's my talk. Thank you very much.